the street from us here. He pitched well in this ballpark, not just last year, but 2 years ago. Those, however, were relief stints. Caleb Gilbert, best known by LSU fans for being called upon to start a game in the College World Series last year in Omaha and putting together a tremendous performance in beating Oregon State. And that's why coming into this year, they had him projected as one of their weekend starters. And he began the year there, but it just hasn't panned out for him. He hasn't pitched an SEC competition since well before the last time these two teams played. And that, of course, goes back to April 19th or 20th through 22nd. So I'm sure this isn't exactly what Pulmonary's looking for, but on the other hand, if you got to run someone out in this situation and it's going to be someone who hasn't had much success this year, make it a guy who's at least had success in this ballpark, has been in big moments before, none bigger than the College World Series, and will be entirely comfortable and at home, no less, here in Hoover, Alabama.
He certainly will, and this would be a great way for him. And I think he's trying to wipe the slate clean for what's happened so far this year with some of those numbers. Like you mentioned, a 329 opponent's batting average, and with 73 hits in 52 innings. You don't see too many pitchers in big games with those kind of numbers. But like you said, he's pitched great ball in the past on college baseball's grandest stage. He wants to put a bow on it right here for this season for him, as far as before NCAA tournament play, by doing it in front of the home family, home folks here in Hoover. And it's kind of a storybook situation for him. South Carolina's got that going against them today.
Well, the LSU Tiger fan base, which is always very strong here in Hoover, Alabama, starting to make their way here into the ballpark. A lot of them probably sitting still out at their tailgate or at their RV, and they will eventually make their way in. They know they've still got some time before first pitch. South Carolina it'll feel like a road game for them. There's no doubt about it. And Adam Hill, unfortunately for South Carolina, has not thrown the ball nearly as well in road games as he has in home games. When at home, he can be dominant. In fact, against LSU, he was with 6 shutout innings and getting a win over the Tigers back on April 21st. But he's not at home, and he's got to find a way to throw strikes and really give the Gamecocks a good start today, because the bullpen had to be extended in a big way last night when Logan Chapman had his shortest stint as a starter for the Gamecocks, not able to make it out of the second inning against Arkansas. So looking forward to seeing what Adam brings to the mound today. His last performance at College Station last Friday, I would call it gutty, Tommy. It was not a matter of sharpness. He didn't have great stuff, but boy, he dug in and hung in there. Gave South Carolina a good enough effort that the Gamecocks eventually got the bats awoken, and they came back and won a game for Adam Hill. Would like to see a little bit better effort from him today.
Got to have the command to beat this team today in this environment, and we've talked about it all year long. His opponent's batting average, it's still best in the SEC at 185. You would think that would equate to much better than a 7-5 record, but he's done most of his damage at home, and this is a good opportunity for him to shine in front of the scouts as well.
Absolutely, and they, of course, have been here and will be here throughout this tournament. Coming up later on, our third game following this contest. Talk about a scouts showcase. You've got Texas A&M and Auburn. Auburn throwing their ace, Casey Mize, who is expected to be the #1 pick in the upcoming Major League Baseball draft. Texas A&M throwing Kilkenny, who is another big-time prospect. He's Texas A&M's ace. That one will get started whenever this Gamecock and LSU contest ends, so they got a ways to go. But it's going to be a fun evening. You get that one, and then the late game features what I think are the 2 best teams in this league, even though the seeding is 1 and 4. It's Florida and Arkansas in the late game tonight.
And we do mean late.
Yeah, we'll let those guys figure it out. Arkansas, for the second night in a row, will be in here in the wee morning hours like the Gamecocks have been for the past 2 nights. If you didn't hear this little note earlier, I thought this was interesting. As we were told, at least estimated first pitch coming up in about 30 minutes from now is actually, that's not true, about 20 minutes from now. 3:05 Central Time, 3:05 Central Time, 4:05 Eastern Time. That's what we're looking at for our first pitch here between the Gamecocks and the Tigers. What we're going to say is last night's game